So nobody should be surprised by that news. Sam Howell officially named the starter by Ron Rivera. He's gotten all the starter snaps in training camp and the OTAs. And even though he always tried to interject, well, don't sleep on Jacoby Brissett. He's shown some good things throughout.
He's taking about 3 reps, but don't count him out.
He was brought in as a high-quality backup in case something happens to Sam Howell, injury or ineffective play. So Sam Howell, officially the starter for Week 1. I guess Ron wanted to do it on his own timeline. He didn't want to get pressed on it. And Sam Howell's your guy for Week 1 against Arizona, which is not that far off in the distance.
It's not. You're right. And like you said, it's not a surprise to anybody.
Not a surprise to anybody, but I got to tell you, and we all knew this, but I got to tell you, I feel like it's Ron in response to the criticism of him kind of dodging. I think it was Hoffman that asked him about it.
It was Craig Hoffman, yeah.
And, if you've waited this long and you're being kind of weird about it, why not at least give yourself a little more leeway? Let him see how he does against the Ravens.
Yeah, watch the preseason
Watch
game.
what you got one more game.
What if he throws? I don't think it's going to happen. What if he throws 4 interceptions?
Yeah, what if he just trips?
He still would be the number 1.
I guess he's still going to be. But why not just wait a couple more days? I think it's in response to the criticism of him being kind of phony, and so he just puts it out there. It's again, they're reactive to everything.
He has been that way for 4 years. Yeah.
And I don't mean to turn this into a negative because I think it's the right move, obviously. And I think it's going to pay off in the sense that I think he's going to be okay. But, God, it's just irritating the way they handle things. That's just my take. I'm not saying it's the right take.
Yeah, you might be right.
It's just my take. But I think it's the correct
He should have announced it before the first game. He should have said, Sam Howell's our guy.
It looks like Sam Howell's our guy, barring a disaster.
I mean, he had been saying that for weeks. He's a QB1.
Yeah. It was just kind of playing word semantics, word games. I do think, and we've talked about it, ad nauseum for weeks, especially these last couple of weeks, that the reports, by and large, have been, I would say, very encouraging. Now, you could say, well, what else are they going to say? Well, I'd point to last year when the reports on Wentz were not encouraging. All those beat guys were kind of like, well, I don't know. They kept saying the inaccuracy issues, you see them. Everyone talked about his arm strength. But everyone talked about all Wentz's failings and how he didn't look that great in the, even in just like mini camps.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the reporting this year has been different. It's been much more positive. I think people have been a little bit surprised in the way like Sam has kind of taken a leadership role, going from you got to remember, he was a complete afterthought last year. They had all their money invested in Wentz. He had to be the guy. Then when he got hurt and was failing, they go to Taylor because he was the known commodity. How was it even an issue till the very, very end? Right?
Right.
So, and then to go from that to, wow, he impressed them so much in one game, the way he handled himself. Wow, he impressed them in the offseason, the way he learned the offense, put the time in, flew to Florida, work out with the guys, taking leadership. I don't know. What you could write a Disney movie about this if it works out.
Especially if it works
about
out.
being named starter. We are going to talk to Barry Zerluga from the Washington Post about it coming up at 9 o'clock. A couple of interesting nuggets. John Keim tweeted this out. He said Brissett actually had a good summer, but Howell just was better.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you look at the quotes from Rivera, it seems like the Ravens practices. I thought it was a little unfair, people jumping on Rivera for not naming him the starter when he was asked, because I do think you should talk to your offensive coordinator, even if you know, maybe it was a formality, talk to his coordinator and talk to the quarterback's coach. But this was from the Ravens practices. He said his ball placement was really good. His decision-making was exceptionally good, and he delivered on time for the most part. When he scrambled around a little bit, his eyes were downfield. He was able to find guys and make those kinds of throws and plays that you need to. So not to say that if he played poorly against Ravens, he wouldn't have been named the starter, but I think that the 2 practices against Baltimore cemented
That was the clincher.
Yeah, I think it was the clincher.
Right.
And then you see what McLaurin says about Howell. He says he's really poised, man. He sees the field really well, and he's going to give us a chance to make opportunities on the perimeter, which has been great. And then he just went specifically on Tuesday. His timing was really good with us Tuesday.
It's also an opportunity for Ron to puff his chest out. That if it works, if it hits, he could say, look at our personnel department. We found him in the 5th round. Mm-hmm. Look at the amazing job that we did finally finding our quarterback.
And he'd be right.
Of course
Yeah.
he'd be right. Because if you find a starting caliber, like average to above average quarterback in the 5th round,
You stole him.
You kind of look like a genius
If he
in
plays
the
well.
NFL. Right.
And if he plays, and this is not to say it's bad, because I think Kenny Pickett's going to be a good player, but if he plays like Kenny Pickett, who was, first-year player last year, he had more interceptions than touchdowns.
I
Well,
don't
if
think
it-
that's going to happen.
if he does, then obviously it's going to be a bad season. And,
I don't think that's going to happen.
And then all those guys are gone.
Everybody's gone.
Yes.
I'll make that
That-
bet, JP. He throws more touchdowns than interceptions.
No, but I told you the bet that I said. I will bet you that Taylor Heineke's touchdown interception ratio last year will be better than Sam Howell's this year.
I don't remember what it was.
2-1.
Yeah. No, I'm not going to do that. I mean, Taylor Heineke's been around 5 years, 6 years. So there is a learning curve.
So is this in your opinion, is it a good timing to name him starter before
I think it's
the
irrelevant.
Ravens game?
I think it's irrelevant. I would have
Because
waited.
we all knew it anyway.
Yes,
Yeah.
everyone knew he was going to start anyway. But I probably would have just waited and just until after. I don't know. Now you've opened yourself up. Or if he plays poorly, now they're going to say, "Is he still your starter?"
He's barely going to play. He's
That's
going
what I'm
to
wondering.
end up
he
having.
might play less
Yeah, he's
now.
going to
He'll
play
probably
less.
have-
I don't think he's going to play a half
He'll
now.
have 10 pass attempts,
Yeah.
10 to 15.
But again, they see him. They see him every day.
Yep.
They like what they see. We haven't seen him much, but they've seen him.
Yeah.
And
He may be the real deal. But what I'd say about that logic is they also saw Carson Wentz and they saw all these other guys.
no, but they were pot committed on Wentz. The Wentz is more of
course.
a they're pot
They're
committed.
paying him $28 million.
Yeah, they were
You,
forced.
you
that's
gotta
not
be.
like-
You gotta be pot committed.
I guarantee you they saw the exact same things JP Finley and Keim and all those guys saw when they were saying, what's going on here? The guy's missing, they're playing against air and they can't complete passes.
Oh, this guy kind of stinks.
Yeah.
Somehow he hasn't been snatched up.
Yeah, he's still working out.
He will get signed when quarterbacks go down. I maintain that.
I'll go down.
I maintain
Man,
that.
is that backpatting machine malfunctioning right now?
That
Doesn't
one
seem
might
to
be
be
wrong.
working that great right
That one might be wrong, but I'm willing to bet. If anybody wants to take the bet, he will be signed.
Okay, he'll sign as a backup scrub somewhere, but
okay.
he'll get signed.
He might need a Mariota year. Like, you know what I mean? He might need a year of backup and then get another
Well,
shot.
I don't think Mariota's the best comp. He had a horrendous year
I'll
last
bet
year.
you he won't start more than 3 more games in his
his
NFL
Ooh,
career.
that's a great bet.
Whole career.
You're finding him in a vulnerable spot.
I know. How old is he?
Carson
29,
is
30.
He's probably like 29 or 30, I'm guessing.
3 games.
I will take
I'm not
the
sure
bet.
if he's 30 yet. That's
I'll
a good
take
question.
The bet. $5.
Cool.
Put it in the book. Put it in
It's
the
right
tattered,
behind you.
Put it in
It's
the
in the
tattered
sewer.
bet book.
I'm in.
do
I'm in.
this.
I'm definitely
More
in. on
Wentz
it.
bets in 2023. Who knew this would be happening?
I
We'll
think
never
it's,
get
I,
away from
never.
it
I think it is
until he
a.
retires.
I think it's a fine move by Rivera. I tend to
Ultimately,
agree
it
with you.
doesn't matter.
He could have waited till after the preseason
I would've
game. The
just
only
waited.
downside is if Howell has a horrific game on Monday night and Brissett balls out.
I did not have the Sam Howell confirmation as the starter turning into a Wentz bet on my bingo card for this Friday, but
you
I'm
never
about
know.
to check it
It
off.
always comes back at
Do you have Barry's Verluga joining
I
us
do.
next?
He's on my bingo card at 9 a.m.
Yes, Barry's Verluga, who covers the Commanders for the Washington Post. He'll join us next as we talk about Sam Howell being named officially the starter for Week 1.